Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here with our day 13 courtroom shenanigans update. So from what I can tell, there were only two witnesses called today. One was Sonia, who is Jane Doe number 3. She is the woman that is supposedly from Salt Lake City, Utah, or she met him in Salt Lake City. And then the other one went by the name of Anna, but Anna is actually Halle or Halle Calhoun. Don't even know why she up in the mix, but I guess when the government calls, you answer and you show up and you read the script as it is prepared for you to. And so the Sonia girl was very interesting. I believe that she may be of the Caucasian persuasion, or not even Caucasian. She may be maybe from like another ethnicity. What I did find out, and I'm not sure if it's her, but there was something that came up where the defense, like some of these people don't want to testify. Susan Loggins doesn't want to testify. Judge Donnelly is talking about issuing a warrant for her if she doesn't show up. And then Lizette Martinez, I guess she wants to testify, but she doesn't want to come to New York. She wants to do video conference like a couple other people have done. And so there seems to be some debate about whether or not she will have to come to Brooklyn or whether or not she can do the video conference. I think Donnelly is okay with the video conference, but the defense wants her there up front, close and in person. And so with this Sonia chick, I shouldn't say trip, with this Sonia chick, there was somebody who the government was upset that they were concerned that they weren't going to be able to get in time because this person was leaving the country. And so the person who I think is Sonia may live in the UK somewhere. And so I'm wondering if she's the person that they were concerned, like maybe they had her fly here and she was only going to be here for a certain amount of time. They hadn't called her and she's like, hey, I need to get back home to my family. That could be the case. I'm not 100% sure that she is who I think she is. But if she is that person, she may not live in the U.S. anymore. But let's go ahead and get into this because I'm seeing a trend here. Like maybe they're trying to end this whole thing, the government trying to, end this with some psychological warfare going on. So you done had all the black women, parade through here giving their story. And now you want to bring in the, the light skin, the mixed and the non-black people to kind of get the jury in their feelings, like, oh, how dare he do this to these white women or these non-black women? You know what I'm saying here? So that's how I'm kind of thinking they're kind of leaning because they're grasping at straws right now. And then one of the people on Twitter that I follow, the Pilar Melendez, who is just off the chain and so biased in her reporting, she did a tweet and she said, good morning from the R. Kelly trial day 13. After several expert quick witnesses last week and a 5-day break, feds really need to step up their game today to prove to the jury that R. Kelly was at the helm of a criminal enterprise. So I'm thinking, okay, well, y'all finally admitting that even though you keep writing these sensationalized articles, that the government really isn't proving their case, right? And then let's go ahead and get into what took place. So Sonia took the stand first. And so she said that she met R. Kelly in August of 2003 outside a Salt Lake City, Utah mall. She was 21 years old at the time, and that she had a job as an intern at a local radio station. And so Sonia was with a friend when they went to the mall, or they heard that R. Kelly was going to be there. And so they jumped in the car and rolled down to the mall so that they could be there to meet him. And so she said, I wanted to get an interview. It would have been my very first big celebrity interview. Sonia said the friend approached Kelly's tour bus. I just asked for an interview and he kind of pointed me in the other direction and said, ask him. And so Sonia said that she thought that it was a manager that they were telling her to go and talk to. So Kelly's defense team has argued that these accusers are disgruntled women and men and with an agenda. And then in the opening arguments, Nicole Blank-Becker argued that Sonia willingly came to Chicago in hopes of getting to know Kelly and interview him for her radio internship. So during her testimony, Sonia admitted that she first approached Kelly in 2003, hoping that an interview with the celebrity would kickstart her career. After a brief meeting with Sonia, she said that one of Kelly's associates slipped her a handwritten piece of paper with Kelly's number on it. She said she called the singer that very same day to set up a time to meet again. And I just love how everybody getting these slips of papers. Like, is this sort of like, you ever been to the laundromat and they have the thing up on the wall, like people looking for jobs or looking for apartments or looking for whatever they're looking for, and then they'll write their number on a piece of paper and then cut it into slips and then stick the paper up on the wall, and then if you have whatever they're looking for, then you just rip off one of the little tabs, one of the little slits of paper with the phone number on it. That's what I'm starting to think was going on with these numbers that all these women claim were being passed out. And then there was another person who wrote for the New York Times who basically is saying that the government is hurting themselves because you should say it's one thing to bring on witnesses that have, to show a pattern or commonality. But basically what they're doing is they're having all these women get up there and say the exact same thing. And she feels that the jury is not going to like that. They're not going to find that credible. So it would have been okay if you get 5 women and they're saying, basically the same thing, but there are some changes and differences in their testimony. But what they're doing is basically hitting on the same exact identical points. And you're talking about a time frame, that's going from the late 90s to current times. Like, he would have to have changed his method of operation, right? Something would have to be different about what he's doing if he's really this person that they're saying that he is. And so then Sonia went on to say that while Kelly agreed to be interviewed, he refused to do it over the phone or to go to the radio station where she worked at in Utah. And so her only option was to go to Chicago to interview him, on his time, on his dime, that he was going to pay for everything. So she said they said it wasn't going to happen that day. They weren't keen on a phone interview nor coming to the station. Instead, Sonia, her friend, and Kelly posed for a picture together outside the bus. While there, somebody slipped Sonia a piece of paper behind her back with Kelly's phone number on it, and she doesn't remember or recall who gave it to her. So she testified that she called Kelly that same day, and she said, I was relentless. I was trying to get him to give me that interview. Eventually, after multiple conversations, Kelly agreed to an interview, but again rebuffed a phone call or station visit. And so she said, they kind of led me to a Chicago trip. When asked who had the idea for a Chicago trip, Sonia answered Rob. And so at the time that she met Kelly, she was a single mother in her early 20s, just starting out in her radio career, something she'd been interested in since junior high school. Kelly's staff arranged and paid for her flight to Chicago from Salt Lake City. While she missed the first flight, she got a later one that landed her in Chicago in the middle of the night. So Sonia finally arrived and contacted them. They told her, and when she says contacted them, she's talking about, I guess, his assistants or, whoever she was supposed to touch base with. And so they told her to take a taxi to his studio, and then en route, the cab stopped at a gas station that struck Sonia as unsafe, and she didn't specify but said there was numerous things going on. So I don't know what was happening at the gas station. Maybe she wasn't used to seeing that many black people being from Salt Lake City, and she thought it was weird. So after taking the taxi to Kelly's studio, which was the chocolate factory at the time, staff at the front desk made a copy of her ID, looked through her luggage, and asked for the names and addresses of the last 5 people she had called with the cell phone she brought with her, according to her testimony. And so I could understand if, now remember, this is 2003. He was charged and arrested in 2002 for the whole video, right? The CP video. Then in January of 2003, he was arrested again here in Florida for the same thing about some videos somebody claimed they found. But those charges were dropped because they did an illegal search. They didn't have a search warrant. So here it is, 2003, and Sonia, is willing to go, travel across the country to go. I don't know how far Utah. I'm thinking Utah to Chicago is pretty far. So she was willing to travel across country to get this interview. So I can understand during this time, their senses are heightened. They're, thinking maybe somebody's trying to set them up. Somebody's trying to plant something. So I can understand them going through the luggage and all of that. And then now I'm not sure about, the 5, like, why was it 5 people? Who were the last 5 people that she called? So are they trying to find out if she was calling like the radio station, if she was calling an attorney? Like, I can understand, because I'm sure security was tight at this point because people were coming with the shenanigans. And then remember, 2003 was also when, wasn't it 2003? Either late 2002, early 2003, Lanita Carter with her lawsuit and her shenanigans and, what she's talking about he did to her when she went to braid the hair. So I definitely can understand there being extra precautions, extra security measures. So when she arrived at the studio, a man asked her a strange question. He asked her, do you need protection? And she said that she didn't understand the question. And then he said, do you need a condom? So like right there, she knew it was about to be some sexing going on, right? They asking her about condoms. But she said, oh no, I'm not here for that. So I'm thinking they probably told her, well, that's what's about to happen. Okay, so now be your time to leave. But anyway, she continued to play dumb and act like, she was there for this interview. And so she says several men asked for her ID and her cell phone as well as addresses. Okay, but I already told you that part. She says that her phone was returned to her after they got the information that they needed. They gave the phone back to her. And so she said that she was then led into a room where 2 people were present. She was also asked to sign an NDA, as other alleged victims say that they were asked to do once they arrived at Kelly's home, and one of the people left to go make a photocopy of it. And so they told her about the rules that she had to follow while she was in the studio. And she says that she wasn't allowed to look up. She wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. She was asked whether she was told anything about leaving the room. And she said that she was told that she couldn't leave the room. Once again, you're in the studio. Is he recording when she first gets there? You know, she can't just walk around. I don't think there's any studio, in a music studio, where people can just come in and wander around and walk around and do whatever they want to while the musicians are recording. So then she says that one man came to her and said that Mr. Kelly should be in shortly, and he went out of the room. And she said that people left. The people left. We don't know who the people are. So a few minutes later, she said, I tried to open the door, and then come to find out it was locked from the outside. Okay, now that was interesting. And so she's saying she was locked in the room. Okay, so I don't know about that. Like what? I don't know how to justify locking somebody in the room. I mean, she's a grown woman. So then it says, I was scared for one. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. It was beyond embarrassing. Sonia said of her reaction, she thought maybe it was an accident, but eventually I just came to the conclusion that, okay, it's locked from the outside. Now, you lock me in a room, I'm probably going to be banging on the doors. Why am I locked in this room? Because to me, that would be a red flag. That would be like, okay, something is up. Something's going on. Why am I locked in this room? So she says, I banged on the door. I tried to use the restroom as much as I could. There was a phone in the room which called downstairs. When Sonia asked for things such as bathroom access, someone told her he had to get it cleared. She was told that Kelly was the person who had to approve things. Eventually, she was escorted to the bathroom. So that was your opportunity to leave, girl, and say, I won't be here no more. So she said she called her friends as much as possible from her cell phone, largely to stay occupied. She said she did give one of the friends information about what was happening with her alleged captivity. Sonia testified that she was locked in the room for several days. On what she thought was the third or fourth day, her request for food was filled. So she wants us to believe that she sat there for 3 or 4 days without eating any food. Now, is that what we're supposed to believe? So she said it was in a bag, and I want to say it was like a green tray. There was a cup with soda, and she said that she consumed just a couple bites of a couple sips. When a fog came over her, I got felt extremely full and tired. I felt something coming on, like, okay, I'm done eating. So Sonia was wearing a nightgown with panties underneath when the food was delivered. So she in there changing clothes, y'all. She putting on new clothes each day. She putting the night clothes on to go to sleep. Does this sound like somebody that's being held in captivity? And she had 2 phones. She had her cell phone and she had the phone that was in the room. So she says she doesn't know how she got from the chair where she was eating to the couch. Her panties were on the sofa. Sonia says she did not remove her underwear. So the next thing I remember is waking up to some commotion in the room. I was extremely confused. I don't remember how I got from the chair to the table to the couch. I was looking over to my right. I see Rob. He's pulling up his pants in the corner. And she says that she was on a couch with her underwear resting on the arm of the couch, okay? And there was wet stuff between my legs, on my thighs, she said. It made me feel like somebody or something had happened to me. I felt like someone had been inside of me. I believed I was touched sexually. Minutes after the alleged assault, Sonia said she was forced to sign a second NDA before she was allowed to leave. Now, girl, did you read either one of the NDAs? Like, if they were going to leave you locked in their room for 3 or 4 days, seemed like you could have took that NDA and read through it to make sure you knew what you were signing. And then if I had already signed an NDA, I definitely would have taken the time to read the second NDA to see what it said before I signed it. And so she said, I know my body. I know when something is wrong. It just felt like somebody and something had been inside of me. And then, okay, I already read the part where she said she thought she was touched. And she says that at any point, the prosecution asked her, at any point, did you consent to the defendant touching you in a sexual manner? And she said, absolutely not. So Sonia got up off the couch and walked towards Kelly to greet and give him a hug. And I was really confused about this part. And it says this was the first time she saw Kelly since her arrival at the studio. He grabbed her backside and said he would be back shortly. At some point after, one of Kelly's handlers came into the room and said the singer was not coming back and that she was free to go. So if somebody had sexually assaulted you, why are you hugging them? Why are you allowing them to grab you on your butt? Why are you not cussing them out? Like, what did you do to me? Like, did you arm me while I was knocked out? Like, did she not tell him, hey, I ate that Chinese food and I felt like I passed out? I mean, to me, if you're hugging him and allowing him to pat you on the butt or grab your butt, then you weren't too upset or too terrified. And then also, if she's the person that I think she is, she posted some pages about a year ago in August of 2020. She was reading this book, and I think the book is called Pretending. And I closed out the page. Wait, let me see if I can. Let me put Pretending book. See who this book is by. So the book is called Pretending, and it is by an author, Holly Bourne. And so she was reading this book last year and then posting screenshots of different pages. And then on one of the pages, they were talking about someone, like even when a woman has been AR'd, that she still wants to have sex. She still has a sexual appetite, and that she still wants to be fulfilled, and that there may have been things that happened during the encounter that she still enjoys. And so that this is in the book. This is not her talking, but she was reading this book and talking about how much she could relate to this book and how the book was so spot on and the book was so true. And then based on this person's social media, she seems to have issues connecting with men or finding a serious relationship. So this kind of more makes me think that this is her, or she was setting this stage, because, last year they were expecting the case to go to trial in September of last year, and then they postponed it. And so I think she was getting ready, because it was August of last year that she was posting these pages from this book. Okay, so let's go back here and let's see. So we talked about the part where she said she hugged him and he grabbed her backside. Like, that was just so confusing. And she didn't see him again after that she was basically told that she could leave. So anyway, she says what felt like another few days had passed before she was given a flight home. So girl, were you there like a whole week? Because you said it was 3 or 4 days before the incident allegedly happened. Now you're saying it was a few more days. And where was she at? And then the whole thing where he came in and they hugged, was that like a couple of days later, or was that the same night of the alleged incident? Like, I would need the transcript for this one to read the parts that were missing out of, the people that were tweeting and the different news articles and stuff, because there seems to be a gap here. Something happened, like maybe they talked after the encounter, and I don't know. It just, y'all tell me in the comments, did this part make any sense to you, that she claimed she was assaulted? Then in the next sentence, she's talking about she got up off the couch and walked towards him and to greet and give him a hug. Not he was asking her for a hug or he hugged her. She went to him to hug him. And that this was the first time she saw him since her arrival at the studio. He grabbed her backside and said he would be back shortly. And then at some point after, one of Kelly's handlers came into the room and said the singer was not coming back and that I was able to go. So was all this on the same day? But then she turns around and says it felt like another few days had passed before she was given a flight home. So that doesn't make sense. Seemed like Sonia was hanging out with him, okay? And so then she says that, she had to do the second NDA before she could leave. And then she said that the person, that was giving her the non-disclosure, and I shouldn't say the handler, the assistant who gave her the NDA, said, "Don't F with Mr. Kelly." And she said that she felt that that was a threat when he said that to her. And so Sonia is now 39 years old, and she said that she took the threat to heart and has never spoken publicly about the assault until Thursday. And she has spoken publicly about the assault because after she watched Surviving R. Kelly, she called none other than Gloria Allred to be her representative. And so Sonia says she was scared, not just for herself, but her family, as Kelly's handlers had taken contact information from her phone from those close to her, including their addresses. And then she says that then now it's time for the cross-examination. And so Deborah Canick repeatedly asked Sonia about the fact that she didn't call law enforcement, given that she had a cell phone. And not only did she have a cell phone, there was a regular, like a landline phone in there as well. And then he also tried to undermine her allegation about falling asleep, asking why she ate so little after being hungry for all those days, going all those days without food. And he asked her, weren't you famished? And she said, I was starving. And then he said, you said it was Chinese food. Was it MSG? And so, he was referring to, the food enhancer that's real popular in Chinese food. And y'all know after you eat some good Chinese food, you be real tired, real sleepy. And your blood pressure probably be sky high too. So he was trying to say that it was the MSG that made her sleepy. And then eating Chinese food, after you haven't eaten for 2 or 3 days, I could see could be a problem. And then I'm trying to understand how she was going to the bathroom during them 2 or 3 days and she wasn't trying to get up out of there and wasn't trying to get her no food to eat, because I'm sure it was some donuts and something laying around, because remember he got mad by somebody eating his donuts. So it was some donuts in that studio, y'all. So then the prosecution objected to Canick MSG related question. And then Donnelly, because she here for the jokes, asked the girl, have you ever heard of MSG? And then Sonia says she don't know what MSG is. So then Canick asked Sonia about whether or not she called authorities while allegedly locked up. She said that she didn't. She also said that she did not advise friends to call authorities. So I guess her friends was like, well, do we need to call the police? And she said, no, don't call the police. I'll be all right, because I need to get this damn article, okay? And I'm going to take one for the team so I can get this interview. So she says, she told them, don't call authorities, even if they didn't hear from her after a certain period. And then Sonia was not asked why she didn't ask for help. Then Connick said, at any point, did you call 911? And she said, no, I did not. And so I don't know why he didn't ask her, other than she felt that they were going to do something to her friends, because it seemed like that would have been part of the thing I told my friends. And I look, when I got here, they went through my phone and they took the names of the last 5 people that I talked to, and you were one of them 5 people, so you might need to get some police protection or let the police know this when you call the police. But no, Sonia didn't want the police involved. She thought she handled this. Now, if I'm 21 years old and a 40-something-year-old man got me captive, held up in a studio, and wasn't the chocolate factory at the house? Wasn't it at the house? Wasn't the chocolate factory studio at the mansion, the Olympia Fields mansion, or was it somewhere else? But in any event, where was Drea? If this happened in 2003, had Drea left, because I know Drea filed for divorce, but then the divorce didn't happen till like 6 years later. Where was Drea? Where was the kids? Like, come on, what is going on here? But then I guess if he was in the studio and he spent days in the studio, if Drea was still there, then she probably wouldn't have paid no attention that he hadn't came in the house. Or maybe when he left, he went back into the house and she just didn't know that it was somebody down there in the studio being held captive. I mean, I don't know. I'm not understanding. None of this is making sense to me. And so what else did Sonia? So I told you guys, Sonia didn't tell law enforcement about the experience until after surviving R. Kelly, when she spoke with celebrity lawyer Gloria Allred. And then Sonia is the final of Kelly's 5 accusers to testify. You guys know that Geronda Pace testified. Somebody who went by the name Stephanie testified. We know Aaliyah didn't testify because Aaliyah is no longer here. Ariel testified. Faith testified. And then I was really surprised that Faith's testimony was as short as it was. And now Sonia has testified. So those are the 5 of 6 people that were there to testify. So then we move on to these non-MF factors, okay? these randoms, these uncharged people, that they're dragging in there to tell these same tales. So next up was Anna, and Anna is Halle Calhoun. And why she even wanted to involve herself in this situation, like even if the government made her come, because they are threatening to arrest people who say they're not coming. So even though the government made her come, she really didn't have to read the script, y'all. Like, what does the government have on her that she had to read the script? Like, what were they going to do to her? So Anna appeared on a sequel to a widely watched documentary series, Surviving R. Kelly, that portrayed R. Kelly, what went down in Surviving R. Kelly. And so she described having a tumultuous relationship with him, but hasn't accused him of any crimes. And so Sonia said that she was 19 or 20 when she met Kelly backstage at a show in South Carolina in 2016, and said that she and Kelly exchanged numbers and started communicating. She saw him again in Atlanta when she went there to visit a friend. And then she started living with him shortly after. So I guess the jury like, well, why are you here on the government side? So the government, didn't think of her as a victim. They're using her, or they were trying to get her to corroborate testimony from other accusers that Kelly used spankings and other discipline to make women he was allegedly exploiting stay in line over months or years. I'm not going to call her Anna. Halle said it was fun in the beginning. She said of her time with Kelly. However, it later became very controlling. She says that her description of his alleged abuse and control was in keeping with that of other witnesses. There were rules to follow, including how she interacted with the other girlfriends. They couldn't compliment each other or talk about social media. If she broke a rule, alleged punishments included spankings or, not going out and about. it was really an option between the two. Sometimes Kelly would take her cell phone if she disobeyed, if she disobeyed one of her rules. She said that he held on to her passport. And so if they were on the road and she needed to use the restroom, she said that she would sometimes use a cup if he couldn't be reached for permission. Halle said that she and Kelly broke up in late 2018. Now, I thought somebody said that they used them cups because they was on the road and they could be stopping every 5 minutes. And then we talk about this already, and I was telling y'all about the truckers, how the truckers be urinating in the cups. And then if you cut the truckers off, they would throw that urine at you. Did we talk about this already? So Halle, as you in here continuing this story. So she says that sometimes they used to do role playing, right? Oh, Lord. So she says during their 2-year relationship, he made her have sex with other men and women, even if she did not want to, and engage in role playing. So that lets me know that there were times that you did want to do it. And she said that sometimes I was a Disney character or a young girl. And then if Anna did not adhere to Kelly's strict rules or sexual desires, she said that Kelly would punish her, make her participate in degrading videos. And then, like other women, he allegedly also forced her to write letters that contained damaging untruths as a form of collateral, including one that falsely stated her father had molested her and another that claimed her mother was blackmailing Kelly. Kelly would occasionally make Halle record videos of herself. She testified, including one where she was made to walk back and forth while naked and calling herself stupid and a slut. Did she bring the video in the courtroom, or is she just telling us about these videos like everybody else talking about the videos? Then in another video, Anna said that Kelly made her be sexual and seductive with bodily fluids. She did not further specify what she was made to do in the video, but another alleged victim previously testified Kelly made her make a video in which she smeared feces on her face, and we know that that's Ariel crazy behind. One time she allegedly had to film herself being sexual and seductive, but she didn't say what the bodily fluids were, that it was just humiliating. And let's see what else. And then the Pilar Melendez lady, in her tweets, she said that Halle said she met Kelly backstage at one of his 2016 concerts, moved in with him months later. I think all of this was in my notes already. And then on cross-examination by Canick, and I'm not sure if Halle is finished or if she's going to be called back to the stand tomorrow. But on the cross-examination, which started, I believe, after the afternoon break, Canick, on the cross-examination by attorney Canick, Halle claims she was lying to hosts of the radio show No Chill Radio during an interview when she said she wasn't abused by Kelly. And then that interview is still up. You guys can go check it out. But basically, Halle was asked, she was on there doing the interview. The interview was probably about 20 minutes long, and I think only a couple of minutes was about Kelly. She basically said that she met him in South Carolina on the interview. But then she said on the stand that she met him in Atlanta. Now, her and her mom had an all-access pass, I believe, to the show in South Carolina. And then I guess she liked him and decided to run down to Atlanta to try and get him to remember who she was. Or maybe he told her he was going to be in Atlanta and sent for her. And so, let's see. Right. So she says, I went with my mom on some random, you know what, but she didn't have any connections, anything, right? We just had all access passes. And yeah, that was it. That was where I met him. So she's saying she met him in South Carolina. And then she was asked, how long did they date? She said it was like 3.5 years. So they met they started dating in 2016. She said that they broke up in 2018. So that would only been 2 years, because 3.5 years would have put her into 2019, right? Am I counting wrong? So then she was asked, what was going on right now with him? Was she aware of all the things that were coming out, with surviving R. Kelly? And she said, I think there's a lot of untrue things that I can't be aware of because it's something that she didn't experience. She says that I've heard, I hear, stuff like that. I've never been experienced. Yes, I can't, I can't comment on that because basically it wasn't her relationship. And then they asked her how was her relationship with him. And I'm reading the transcript from that video, so she wasn't speaking in clear English. She says, I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was different because, he's of who he is, and but a lot of that knows ups and downs that just enjoy your relationship. Yeah, so, but him being who he is, it puts him in more eyes and more opinions and more, crazy stuff that comes with it, But like I said, it's, there's ups and downs just like any relationship. And then they asked her about the age difference and, was that weird for her? And she said that it's not even really, because it's a lot of people would think it's weird. Okay, cool. But it's like people are different. And I don't think age is anything, like I said, rose over. The transcript was crazy. But basically she was saying that age is nothing but a number for real. So some people are younger at heart. Like I have an old soul. Like I love you. Like old school music. Like my mom. I grew up on a lot of that stuff. So I feel like I can connect with older people. I feel like more than people my age, like I hang out with older people. I date older. I just naturally, I just choose, and that's my choice. That's my truth. I just choose to be with older people. And what else? And she talked about, they asked her about the relationship ending. And she said something about being in Atlanta. And let's see, it's just like natural. It's naturally, I think she was saying there was like a natural, progression, the relationship coming to an end. She says that I wanted to grow and, focus on myself, of course, accomplish my dreams and things that I had set for myself. And, living that fast life, living that lifestyle and being with somebody like that, it's like you kind of lose yourself and forget the things that you want to accomplish. So I wanted to really focus on myself and, just get it together. And then the guy asked her something about being independent and that women that date Kelly, they don't have a lot of independence. And she said she wouldn't say that fully. And then they asked her, what did she mean? And, she basically said that there were rules, but she could pretty much come and go as she wanted to. And then she kept talking about because of who he is, like there are rules because he is this famous person. And then the interview pretty much ended, where she said that, she's not sorry about anything that happened, that she grew from the relationship. It made her a better person. And then the guy who was interviewing her was like, he get what she's saying. You live, you learn, you love, and then you move the hell on with your life. So I don't know why Halle is now saying that this whole thing was a lie. Like, why would she have to get on this radio show and tell this lie if her relationship ended in 2018. She didn't owe R. Kelly anything. I believe he was locked up when this interview happened. She didn't have any interaction or connection with him. So why did she feel she had to do this interview and lie? And so that's why I'm hoping that she's still on the stand so that Kenneth can ask her more questions, or maybe he did ask the questions, they just didn't get out of the courtroom with, the people that were covering the story. But anyway, child, that's it. That's what happened today in court. It was Sonia and Halle, and they are basically following the script of what, everybody else has had to say. And then you guys know that Javante Cunningham is supposed to be on the stand tomorrow, where she is going to get up there and lie about seeing R. Kelly and Aaliyah on the back of this bus, when I don't even understand why Aaliyah would have been on the bus. Like, that is the part where I'm lost and confused. And hopefully Kenneth or whoever cross-examines her will be able to ask those same questions too. Like, why was Aaliyah even there? Because didn't Demetrius say, what year did Demetrius say that he met Aaliyah? Like, he didn't meet Aaliyah until, 92? Was that when he went and they worked on the album? And then the album, when was Aaliyah's album released? Was it in 94 after all of this? And then Barry Hankerson continued to work with him for several years after the alleged marriage took place. Like, I hope the jurors are sitting there doing these calculations in their brains, and I hope they're doing their research when they get home, even though they're not supposed to. But y'all know, child, they probably got monitors on the people internet. Maybe they got family and friends that's getting information from them and then typing it out and slipping it under the door so they can read about it. I don't know. But anyway. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you guys that Carrie was there showing support for his brother. Glad he wasn't there to testify, but he was all dressed up in a tuxedo-like dinner jacket. Not embarrassing his brother, looking okay. And he said that, he don't know why these people lying on his brother, but he was there, to show some support and show that, the family is there supporting him. But anyway, this is my recap of day 13. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.